Hello and welcome to Underdogs, Bootstrappers, and Game Changers. This is for those of you that are starting with nothing and using business to change their stars. Motivating people who disrupted industry standards. This is the real side of business. This isn't Shark Tank. My aim with this podcast is to take away some of the imaginary roadblocks that are out there. I want to help more underdogs because underdogs are truly who change the world. This is part of our Content for Good initiative. All the proceeds from the monetization of this podcast will go to charitable causes. It's for the person that wants it. Hello and welcome to another episode of Underdogs, Bootstrappers, and Game Changers. I am so excited about the guest we have today. Actually, I've been following her for quite a few years. And before I dive into what she actually does and how amazing she actually is, I want to actually get a chance before I forget to say a personal thank you. Because when I first started doing anything to do with filming, video, it was actually a video about our first business that my business partner talked us into. And Barbie saw the video somehow. I don't know how. And I don't know if she even remembers this, but she told me I was her spirit animal. And when you're fearing something and coming into something and somebody as cool as Barbie tells you that stuck with me. And, I think it's led to me developing a little bit of confidence, starting now 3 podcasts. So I can't thank Barbie enough for that. She is absolutely amazing. She is a blue collar hero in an industry traditionally not with females these days. And so she's kind of reinventing the industry. Amazing artist. She's got 5 books, passionate about changing the world and has a heart to do so. So I want to welcome on Barbie the Welder.
Wow, thank you so very much from the bottom of my heart. I'm going to cry through this whole thing and keep talking like that. Wow, thank you, thank you. And yeah, I definitely have, I found some amazing spirit animals out there. When I find people, it gives me goosebumps. Oh my gosh, when I find people who just speak to me creatively, yeah, I just got to let them know.
I appreciate it more than you know. And, I made it it's not so comfortable, especially I'm not that macho of a guy, but for us guys that aren't really good with the feeling stuff, but I've made it a point now to no matter how embarrassed I'm going to be about it, if I think something nice of somebody, I say it, right? And it was that little nice comment. You never know a resounding effect, that it's had on my life, give me a little bit more confidence. This stuff still scares the heck out of me, but I think it's important that people like you are out there and maybe to a lesser extent me and, talking about good stuff in the world. We just talked about the news, right?
Yeah.
The bad news that's on there, And so I think there needs to be more people in the world spreading good things, talking about kindness, talking about the impacts of the average human citizen that's doing something amazing,
Yeah, it's so simple to be kind. Just holding a door for someone or smiling at someone walking by, making eye contact and looking at them. You have no idea what humans are going through. We all suffer from the human condition, which is, people get sick, people get hurt, people die, things happen. And, you just never know what people are going through. One way, shape, or form or another. And just sometimes just that kind word or that smile, you could be changing someone's life and you don't know. And it doesn't matter if it's received or not. You feel good about yourself doing it. And that right there is just, you're fueling more love in yourself, which, it goes out.
Yeah. Well, and you think of it, we see those sci-fi movies and stuff, and where they keep their eyes open and they make them watch all this awful stuff in the world. I think that's happening sometimes. And so that's why when I watch what you're doing and you're out there and you're putting out content and beautiful art in the world, and you're not that, right? You're something that's good that's out there that people can feel good about. And your story isn't traditional either. You're getting into an industry that, traditionally women haven't gotten into. And, could you tell me a bit about what gave you a passion to actually proceed towards that? And was there a fear that you couldn't do it at first?
No. I'm deeply blessed with my father, who was a diesel mechanic. He was actually a tin knocker back when I was a kid, and I didn't know it until later on. I got into welding, and story for another day. But he was, when I was where I remembered, when I remember my dad was a diesel mechanic for the Army. And so he would fix these trucks and the Hemmets and the Humvees and the Deuce and a Half, and he would drive them to the house to test drive them. And then like me
Okay.
and my brother would go for a ride. And so like I grew up in big gnarly diesel trucks. Got a
Uh-huh.
little bit older and I could possibly test drive some of them with them. And so I've been around mechanics my entire life. Like the smell of the garage is home for me. Like give me all of that.
Yeah.
And like later on when I found welding, which I was a mechanic for years, um,
Okay.
I was about 7 years. I was in the industry. I went to BOCES for it in high school for 1 year. I fought tooth and nail to get in. I told my counselor in ninth grade I wanted to be a mechanic, and they were like, "Don't you think you'd be happier in cosmetology or cooking?" Like, this is still like the fanciest my hair gets. It's not my jam. And yes, that's great for some people. They definitely want someone who knows what they're doing to cut my hair. But as far as and there's an art that goes into that. Holy cow! I tried doing it myself once. Not recommended.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a time saver. It was not a good idea. But I had to fight to get in. It took me to my senior year to get in. I only got 1 year of that, which by that time I actually was a single mom. Between my 11th and 12th grade year, I had my son, and
Wow.
he went to school with me. And I went to auto mechanics half a day, which was I was so grateful. I was so happy. And then get out, and then couldn't afford being a single mom. I was low income, which there are single moms out there who aren't low income. And I've had some realizations about myself as I've gotten older, not more mature, but older. But yeah, like at the time, I was like, I thought that's what it was. Is I thought, being a single mom, that I would have low income, and so I lived into that. I did go to college for auto mechanics. I had to fight to pay for it. I really just wasn't in a good position. I got a couple of loans, but it wasn't enough. And then by the third semester, I couldn't afford it and dropped out. But was in the industry. I got hired at Sears. I was busting tires and brakes, and I've done
Cool.
everything from sell cars to wrench on them, which selling cars is no thanks. That was
Yeah.
definitely, I'm like, hey, do you know what this engine can do? I'm like, no one cared about the engine. They wanted to know about the, and I'm like, it goes, well, it just wasn't a good fit for me. But yeah, I mean, like I was a mechanic before I was a welder. And so being brought up by my dad, who never treated me different, it was me and my brother. My brother went and cooked with my mom, and also he's an amazing wrench with motorcycles. And I never learned to cook with my mom, but which my dad's a great cook also. It's just
Yeah.
like we weren't treated different. There weren't like boy roles and girl roles, and so I
Uh-huh.
just completely just was like, it never dawned on me that other girls didn't wrench and love the smell of gas and oil and burning tires.
Yeah. I've noticed that you've been a part of some pretty big car builds these days too, haven't you?
I have not. I've been sitting quietly in my shop actually.
Oh, okay.
I
Uh-huh.
did work on a couple of. I worked with Bogey Latiner a few years ago,
I
2017.
think that's what I read about. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was 2017. I'm like, I how time flies. But yeah,
Uh-huh.
that it was a '57 Chevy pickup truck that Bogey. She got the truck and then brought women from all over the country that like to introduce them into the trades. It was a brilliant, brilliant project that I was blessed to be a part of for a month. I lived in her garage, like no kidding. She had a little bunkhouse, and I lived in
Cool.
her. I'm blushing because I'm like, I got to live in a garage for a month. And then I welded on this truck, and it was I did a lot of work on it. It was like many women did a lot of work on it, but it was to introduce women to the skilled trades. So there was people who had never like even picked up a wrench and didn't know what one was. And then there were
Yeah.
people who were really skilled, and so like we all taught each other and learned from each other. And it gave me a tribe of ladies that I didn't know exist, because I have usually been like the only girl, usually.
Yeah.
So it's
I think
changing. Thank you, social media.
I think the world's wide open for women in the skilled trade industry.
Uh,
Like I'm a big proponent of the great idea can come from anywhere in our background, kind of interdisciplinary thinking, right? Like if your background is different than mine, then you come with a different set of talents and mindset and framework to a problem. And
yes.
I think that there's a tremendous amount of talent and art that could be brought from women. And actually, I tried to, at one point in one of my businesses, I really had the idea a lot of women go to design school, right? And they learn to sew and they learn to design and things of that nature. And you probably know this. The upholstery industry is a dying art. There's almost, there's not very many good upholsterers left in the world around automotive, and so I think it's something that needs to be reintroduced, because I think that conveyance is going to go that way, actually more towards interiors. And I would love to see more women, especially coming from design institutes and things like that, given their play on upholstery.
Oh, I would love that. I literally just talked to my favorite upholsterer yesterday, who is up in Horseheads, New York at Flyboy Custom. I'm going to give him a little shout out because he's going to be doing the interior of my car someday.
Nice.
I'm so stoked. I totally agree with you. The art behind that, oh my goodness. Oh, just so incredible. I love fashion too, which, like, don't judge, but I mean, like, watching people design clothing, huge fan of that, like the clothing. And like, I recently found a woman on Instagram who is doing motorcycle seats. I wish I could come up with her name, but it's been a while. I've been working, and like, I had head down working and not really doing too much stuff else other than that. So
I hear you 100%.
A little bit, but yeah, like, I'm following her. So she's doing like the sewing on it. And, it's amazing. You sit your buns down on something and you have no idea all the craftsmanship that went into that thing, until you watch like how it's made, or you see an Instagram or TikTok video, or, on Facebook or wherever, you see a video of someone creating it. It's like, oh my goodness. I pick up tools every day and use them. And, like, even as a craftsman, I just don't always stop and think about the work and the details that went into creating that, to thinking up that idea and then creating that with that thing.
It's beautiful what humans can do. And, whether you probably know it or not, it's like, I love history, right? Go to Egypt and I was just in Greece for quite a while. And, you see what humans have built as far as art, and it's like, you're building that art right now. Like, how do you feel to like think that like something you built could be like around in 1,000 years?
And I do think on that very much. I did not like history in school. I didn't like school in school.
Me neither.
Today,
not at first.
Yeah, literally today, I'm like, I watched like the rise and fall of the Roman Empire last night. Like that's what I'm watching, and I'm like that's it. It's like the things that people created like back before. Like, we're blessed with technology. If I want to see a human face, I can like Google it and get real close, and I can see how the cheek is shaped, and I can copy it. Huzzah.
Yeah.
But like the technology and how easy that is, and like to pick up a welder, just plug it into the wall, and the electricity, like, so lucky. But yeah, the going to places and seeing what people made and like the history of it. I got to see mummies at a museum down in Miami a few weeks ago, and like Egyptian mummies, and to think again, like, this is people's artwork.
Yeah.
And yeah, I am very cognizant today. I haven't always been like, I definitely have like, I don't know, I'm a new person every day. I learn so much stuff. I feel like this every day, but yeah, thinking about like what I'm doing now, like, yeah, it's possible that it's around, and like, and that people think about me like they think of Bob Ross or Michelangelo. Like, I'm like, this is possibilities, because they're human and so am I. And so if they're human and so am I, then that possibility exists for me. And even if it doesn't like exist out in the world, like if it exists up here, if I have a possibility up here, then that exists in the world, because I've brought a lot of stuff from up here to here, from nothing to something. And so
I couldn't agree more. So part of my hippie hypothesis is, and I don't know how many times I've shared it on this show, but it's like, so people that come from tough backgrounds, underprivileged backgrounds, poverty, they quite often, they don't make it, unfortunately. There's really big stats around that. But the ones that do, and that's why I'm impassioned about bringing more underdogs to the world, because the underdogs are the ones that change the world, right? And like, you keyed in on it perfectly. I think it's just seeing it possible. The problem is, if you're raised in the struggle, people around you are in the struggle. You never see the lawyer that's the normal dude, the doctor that's the normal dude. It's like, that's part of what this program is about, is like showing, like people that are underdogs, like, you can absolutely do everything. And actually, not to dissuade too much, but adversity is a key indicator. The ability to overcome adversity is a key indicator of success. And so people, believe it or not, that come from struggles are actually more equipped for success. Problem is they let the world destroy them first.
It's literally a book that I wrote that I can't repeat the words. That's got a big old swear word on the cover of it, but it's called
I
The
was going to
F
ask you
Word.
about it today.
Yeah. It's sitting up here above me. It is completely and utterly like what saved me. And I didn't understand it as I was doing it, but in the book, I tell people, explain it like the worse your life is, the more fuel you have for success, the more successful you can be. And it's kind of an oxymoron, but it really is true. It's like if the more people that have told me no, it's just more fuel for like, I will show you, like, okay, like doubt me, please doubt me, because it's just, it's just one more person. I'm just going to be like, well,
How did you? So I went through, like, I'm reading parts of your book and I'm like, this lady gets it, right? It's like, I get it. She's speaking to me too, because I went the same way. It's like, tell me no, I'll be out there tomorrow. I'll be doing it. If I have to work 24 hours a day to get it done, I will, but like for me, it was a defeated mindset at first. A lot of my principals and teachers told me I never amount to nothing. They told me I was stupid. I believed that for a long time. It made some really big struggles in my teens and 20s. But then I was able to flip a switch. And then it was like, you know what? Fuck them. I can do this, right? I can do anything I want in the world. So how did you flip that switch? Because I think that switch is like something I would love to be able to tell underdogs how to flip.
Right. Well, looking for that's a good one. I've had a few moments in my life, like looking back, it's so easy to see these moments. Just goosebumps. I'd probably cry right through it all. I was in the hospital at one point, my own choices, and had a big problem with cocaine and was homeless over it. Was put myself through all of this stuff. Landed in I turned myself in to get myself cleaned up, but then through the realization, through the anger, like when I sobered up, like the anger came out of like, I had a son who at the time was 7 that was with my mom and dad. And so like, once I realized what I had done, it was like complete and deep, just like the deepest anger you can imagine, like Hulk strength anger at myself. But it also, I projected it out, because that's what we do as humans, is we project it out. Like we do it inside, but we also like, it's getting on everybody. And so I ended up in the mental institute from it, because I was violent and dangerous, cute little Barbie. Like I was violent and dangerous. I was so just angry at myself. And in the time that I was in there, and please, I like someday I'm going to have to ask my medical records. I have no friggin' clue how long I was in the hospital for. It could be short time, it could be long. Time doesn't exist. But unless I have a deadline, in which it very much does. But I had a doctor that I asked one day, I go, when am I going to be able to get out? And like, I was mad and all that, but I'm like, I also didn't want to make that a lifestyle. Like there was just not my vibe.
Yeah.
It was, but it wasn't. And he's like, you're never getting out. I was like, you're in here. You're never getting out. And 3 days later, I was out. F you, I'll show you. Yeah, F you, I'll show you. And it was just like, I feel like it was just weirdly divine in how it happened. Everything has happened for me, not to me. I've gone through so much. I've gone through, and again, like I've self-inflicted all of it through my depressed thinking, through my thinking that depressed myself, that pushed myself down. You're a single mom. You're a loser because you did this. Like that was a horrible mistake. Like all of that stuff, and it's habitual negative thinking. I was on medication. They told me I'd be on medication all my life. Another one when I was like, hey, but I'm getting off this stuff. And the lady goes, she goes, oh, never, you'll be on it all your life. And I'm like, well, if you, I'll show you. And like that happened. And so like, I don't know how healthy it was. I don't recommend it to anyone, but also like it worked for me. Later on, when I found welding and knew I needed to be a sculptor, and that was just an understatement to say knew it. My mom and dad were like, when I went to, like, you're making a mistake to go in, I knew it was right. And I'm like, this is my path. It just kind of became a way. But when it was time to quit my job, 5 years later, after, all the work I put into practicing and learning and the fabrication, they're like, you're making the biggest mistake of your life to quit your job. And I'm just like, it's just another one. Like, really, like, you guys are supposed to have my back. It's already hard enough to get through all my gobbledygook by myself. Like, I got enough crap here as it is. Like, I don't need your help. And it was just,
Yeah.
you know. And then the dude at the small business, who's supposed to have your back as a small business, was like, you should quit and go back to work. And I'm like, that was a straw. Like, that was a straw. And I'm just like, F you. You've got to be kidding me. Like, it was awful. I'm like, why would this dude ever, like, I'm like, I went there for help. I didn't know how to run a business. And so I was looking for help. And this, like, the guy gave me exactly the help I needed. So, like, let's look back at all of this. Let's thank
in the way you didn't think.
Yeah. Like that book, my book, FU Fuel, has been written because of the doctor, because of the guy at the Better Business or the Small Business Bureau, because of all these instances. And these were like, I didn't know it at the time, but that gave me the fire inside, that it was just like the fire inside me burned deeper than the fire around me. And I was just like, I will show you. I mean, like, I've been living in hell all my life. I'm just like, let's just burn this to the ground. I'm like, I'm just going to go down in a blaze of glory. I'm like, I'm just going to, and it's a phoenix, right? Like, it's a phoenix. It's, I burned my old self down to the ground and I built a new me I was in love with. This was very much, very slow process over time. And again, it's, I'm on a journey now where it's like I very much look at every little thing. If I point my finger at someone and I go, I'm mad at that person, I know that there's something in me I'm not handling. And so life has changed drastically from that. But it went from that F you, I'll show you, to I was showing myself that I can count on myself. I was showing myself that I could show up for myself and that I could trust myself to get through these obstacles that, like, I did create. I created debt for myself. I got over that obstacle twice. I created homelessness for myself 3 times. I got over that 3 times. Like, I started to see, like, look at, I could trust myself. So I'm like, if you're in the fire right now, if the fire around you is burning hotter than the fire inside of you, then just start looking for times in your life when you overcame something. Just look for something small. It doesn't matter how big it is. It's like, oh, there's a crack in the sidewalk and I jumped over it, didn't step in the puddle. Find something that you can reference, and then you can go back to that and go, I overcame that. If I can overcome that, if I can figure out how to overcome that, or like, I mean, you got to probably look for harder stuff, like, the death of a loved one or the death of a pet or something hard that, you've gone through. But look back in your life, because if you get a crappy life, you've overcome some stuff, because you're still, I'm saying, you're still stuck in air. You're on the right side of the dirt. Look for something you've overcome. If it's getting out, getting whatever it is, and you can hyper focus on that the same way you can hyper focus on, I'm low income because I'm a single mom. Or, you can hyper focus on the fact that, look at, someone else overcame low income as a single mom. How can I? And that those 3 words, how can I? Instead of saying, poor me, I'm a low income mom, I turned it around. It took, like I said, it took years, but here's a shortcut, right? How can I? How can I make this sculpture faster? How can I overcome this obstacle? How can I? But having that attitude, it's literally like your focus changes. And when your focus changes, your whole life changes.
You impact so many amazing things there. It's just, and I think an important message out of that too is, like, we make mistakes. I made mistakes, and they're, just like you, what drove me to do the things that I did. Now, if I had a time machine, don't get me wrong, I would go back and I'd rectify every single mistake I ever made in life, because I'm a perfectionist. But, and you wouldn't, I know a lot of people say they wouldn't, but like, I look at it this way, and it sounds like you do too. It's like, so I made those mistakes, right? There's no time machine. I can't press a button. So all I can do is make my forward future, the things that I do, the good works that I do, be so amazing that any mistakes I ever made, it makes it pale in comparison, right? Because we aren't born with these tools to, like, know how to go get it, right? And if you don't have much support, and like people are telling you you're doing stuff wrong, and then you're falling into, like, actions that are like you're embarrassed about, and you're like, then it's like a flywheel system, right? Now you're getting in that and like, okay, they're right. I'm not going to do anything in life. I'm just going to be this, it's like, it's such a tough thing, but then you can use it, like you're saying, as motivation.
Yeah, I have learned the two words moving forward. So no matter what I screw up in the past, I look at it as like I've never made a mistake. Yeah, there's things that like, you know, how many people said like, yes, I've been in a mental hospital. Like, it's something that is like shit happens, man. I had depressed thinking. I was depressing myself. But
Yeah.
I wouldn't look at that like that happened for me. I needed that moment, those moments. I needed those to become me. There is
Yeah.
something out there for me. Like what I'm doing today will pale in comparison to what's going to happen in the future. I have no friggin' clue. I have no
Yeah.
clue, but I know that like just with advancements in technology and my high rate of income,
Yeah.
quoting
No,
Ricky Bobby, it's just
I'm positive. I'm lucky to have you on the show now before you won't talk to me anymore.
yeah, you got my number. Like, just text me anytime, man. You're doing amazing
Yeah.
things, and any way I can be involved in what you guys are doing, like sign me up, man. Like I'm super stoked for what you're doing. This is, you know, like I made videos on YouTube because there weren't any out there teaching how to weld art. Like the book was a humbug. The first one was just a complete humbug, but like there was no one
Yeah.
that was doing what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Bob Ross is like the closest thing I can think of. And I like in the beginning, zero desire to teach, zero to try. I hated teachers. Sorry, teachers. I love you now. Like, I really love you
Yeah.
now. I love to inspire people, but never in a
Yeah.
million years was like, oh yeah, I'm going to sit out and I'm going to write books and I'm going to teach things. And like, that's just gobbledygook for the, that's gobbledygook.
It's a hard turn, isn't it? It's like I go into train at my gym these days, and it used to be all about my training, right? My training, me. And now I go into the gym and some guy will ask to partner with me. Hey, Tyler, how did you throw that right hand? How did you do this? And now it's all about their training, right? It becomes like you never want to be like that switch turn. You still want it to be me. But then you like finally, okay, now I've gotten to the point in life, like I need to use some of this knowledge. I need to use, that's what this show's about, honestly. There's something I totally don't want to miss with you. So I'm going to backtrack just a little bit. And I'll parlay it in this way because I had a similar, kind of story in some ways in high school. Really, I don't know. A lot of what I went through wasn't fair. My father was in prison, and so automatically I was a bad kid. Because of that. Seemingly, my parents smoked, and my mom and her boyfriend. So I smelled like cigarettes. I've never had a cigarette in my life, but apparently I was a smoking kid, so I was a bad kid. So a lot of that was unfair, and I was told I was stupid, and things like that. And then after I got out of that, and I didn't care less about high school. I was like, give me this job thing. I want some money. I've never had clothes. I never,
let me work on cars.
I had my first full-time job when I was 13 years old. I was like, this school stuff's just getting in the way. And then it took some time, but I eventually got some bravery because I know this is where our paths differ, right? So I eventually got some bravery and I ended up going to college, and I was scared to death because I thought I was stupid. And then I eventually took some classes. I'm like, hey, I can do this. Like this is, and not only that, but I'm doing good. And then I started thinking to myself, you know what? What is the hardest degree they have here? What is the absolute hardest degree? Like I'm going to do that because screw them. And so I chose biochemistry, and I got a degree in biochemistry. Mostly, I mean, I ended up loving it, but mostly because to prove them wrong, I think. And there was a lot of motivation there. And it took that because it was full-time work, full-time school sort of thing. But I am a huge proponent of education and getting into it for certain things, right? And that's what I wanted to talk to you about too, is because blue-collar jobs in this world, and I'll weigh in on this just a little bit from a monetary standpoint. If you think you need to go to college to make a bunch of money, I had guys that worked for me that made six figures a year as painters, as upholsterers. A window tinner these days, I think, makes about $130,000 a year. You don't have to go to college, right? I'll be the first to support you if you want to go for some reason, and I got a lot out of it, but you don't have to go. And Barbie, I know that's something you talk about. Can you weigh in on that too?
Yeah, I went to college, but it was for auto mechanics, which I also went for paralegal for a couple semesters, a couple years later, and that's, again, a story for another day. But I completely, like, the trades are the place to be, depending, right? So, like, there's people that want to go and, like, we want the doctors, we want the lawyers, we need these jobs, but there's also, like, there's a huge stigma, or was, or is, or stigma around having skilled tradesmen be one, that they're not smart.
Yeah.
and 2, that they're like uneducated, and 3, that they don't make a lot of money, which is so wrong.
In every way.
Today, more than ever, in every way. One, there's just such a huge sense of satisfaction. In my experience, there's a huge sense of satisfaction working with my hands, whether it was turning wrenches as an auto mechanic or welding art, or welding and fabricating, like brackets and stuff when I was at the custom fab shop. There's such a huge sense of satisfaction of just working with your hands. For me, the physical labor is cathartic. I mean, like, I'm a high energy person. Like, I like to go and FSU, and I'm just like, like all the time. And so, like, coming in here, I'm like, it's cathartic. It is like a body by steel, man. I'm like, I got some muscle. I'm in here, and I'm like, my abs are great. I'm like leaning back and grinding. I'm like, I'm like, you don't need a gym membership. I will tell you that. But it's the money is huge, especially today, because there's a huge push for the trades. There is so many ways to get into the trades that you don't even have to pay for your education. There are companies that will pay for you to go to school. If you've got the right attitude, you need to show up ready to work and have that good attitude and the work ethic. And there are companies that will pay you to go to school. You've got you also have the unions, which will train you on the job. I'm a huge proponent for the unions. There are so many opportunities. And what's amazing is, like, look, there's robots out there doing some welding and stuff. There's robots out there doing some of this work, but don't let that freak you out. There's people that need to learn how to run the robots. If you like video games, get your ass to college for that. I mean, like, there's something for everybody. You like working indoors? We have that. You like working outdoors? We have that too. You want to work up high or down low, underwater? I mean, like, you want to work on the space station? I mean, like, there's literally, like, the trades go into every single every job. Like, pretty much every job is a trades, and it's just huge satisfaction. The pay's good. You get to work fast because you don't need a ton of skills to get to work. They can teach you a few things, and you get to work. You will learn so much more on the job. And, like, these companies are really looking for people with a great attitudes and work ethic. Like, show up.
Well, talk about business opportunities.
People. Oh yeah.
Huge business opportunities. I mean, you can't find good contractors in so many different ways, right now, and they make an incredible amount of money. They get to kind of write their own bill. One of the things that I'll pre-warn people about, though, getting into the trades, especially in business, is like eventually you work your way through the labor work. And now you've got to change, right? Now you got to further educate because you got to run your business, and you're going to be working less with your hands and more with your mind, which is a huge transition for me. It's like I still have to get out there and do labor work all the time because that's fulfilling for me. It's easy to see, like, the results of your labor when you do labor work. It's hard when you start working here, right? Or paperwork or office stuff. It's like that's a big transition. So if you enjoy seeing the fruits of your labor, that's going to be something I would say, for people that open businesses in those categories, it's going to be your biggest transition when you go from working in your business to on your business.
That right there is something I did not understand when I didn't understand I was a business when I quit my job to go full time as an artist. And I'm glad because I want to quit. I really want to. I am successful because of what I didn't know. Like, literally. It's like, because if I'd have known half this stuff, I wouldn't have. But also, I learned on the job, I just knew I needed to create art. There was nothing more for me. It was all about creation. And then after like 9 months, I'm like, I burned through all the money I had, saved up and cashed in my 401k and all that stuff. And I'm just like, man, I realized I have to go and sell. And so I have to learn to be a salesman, which had a really negative connotation for me. I'm like, sales
and a marketer.
Marketing, sales, branding, like 3 things. Oh, and I'm a video editor. Accounting. I do all my own stunts right now. It's, and it's like talking to companies and like working with companies and pulling, I had sponsors for a while that, working with sponsors and like, I'm talking to multi-million-dollar and billion-dollar companies about working with them, like little old, I sit at the tailgate and drink a cold beer and bonfire. And I like to weld stuff, man. You guys want to work with me? I mean, like, it's just kind of it's definitely a learning process. But again, it goes back to trusting yourself and knowing, like, I overcame an obstacle, like, I didn't know how to weld when I started. When I had the idea of being a sculptor, like, I never even welded before.
Yeah.
Even in automotive, I didn't even touch torches in automotive. I didn't that was year 2 probably. I only got 1 year. So I'm but someone else figured it out. And that's my go-to phrase. Like, well, someone else figured out how to, look at, there's really successful artists out there, like deeply successful, making more money than anyone else you can imagine. Like,
Oh yeah.
millions of dollars. And I'm like, if they could do it, so can I.
How
And
did
that's
you realize it was a business? When did you realize it was a business?
Shoot.
And how did you come to that realization?
And I figured out I had learned to sell. I'm 9 years, September 1st is 9 years as a full-time artist. I'm still learning to run my business. I'm still very much not handling the financial side is really good. Oh, what the hell? I had no idea. Like, people said I would be a starving artist, and y'all are wrong.
I'm gonna send you one of my accounting videos if you need it.
I do. I'm doing a lot better on my budgeting of it, and looking at my account and not mixing my money between, I'm literally still learning to run a business.
Yeah.
In my humble opinion, I'm a deeply successful artist. I do exactly what I want every single day. But there is some stuff, I'm now looking a lot more long term. I'm 47. I have to look at I have to look at my brains I'm 47 years old, man. There's stuff coming up that, I'm now more aware of than I was 5 years ago. And I'm I want to make sure, I don't have the health insurance and all that stuff. And so now it's really starting to let's think like a business owner. So when did I realize I was really running a business? I'm going to say 2023, this year. This year it really changed. My move from New York to Florida, and it changed everything for me. Just mentally, I'm in a whole new, I feel like I'm 10 levels above where I was in New York, just thinking wise, and really just the slowing down and thinking what's really important right now and what's going to be important in the future. How can I position myself? I haven't been super strategic in my business, other than I have moved towards what I felt was right the entire time. And that's keeping the first thing first. And that's creativity and craftsmanship, and what I'm creating, and then showcasing it. But, I squirreled out for a little bit with sponsors, it was a great move, but also I was focused on promoting other people. And I couldn't afford gloves. And so when the sponsor showed up and started handing me gloves, I was taping gloves up, and I was I could not afford an $8 pair of driver's gloves in which to weld in. So I was, going through my Scotch tape and just taping them, and so for a few years I've had sponsors that are just they pour money onto my business. They pour products into it. I won't
Please wear our gloves. Please wear our gloves.
Oh my gosh, I know, right? But what ended up happening is I realized this year is here I am, because I took some time off for my move. That was a big, huge transition. So going back into business, I went back, going back to work. I went back in the same way. I started looking for new sponsors. And because I had ended my sponsorship deals knowing I was going to take some time off, and I can't serve you right now. We're going to end this here. We'll pick back up, and maybe we won't. We'll see. And moving back in, I started moving in that same direction, but something wasn't feeling right. And so it took me a little bit to realize I just need to do business in a different way. Here I am, and listen, the stuff I'm using, I'm using it because I love it, which has always been the truth. I would not hawk anything that, knowing that I couldn't afford an $8 pair of gloves, I wouldn't wear a pair of gloves that I wouldn't stand next to and say, look, these are worth the $8, whether you can afford them or not. Very cognizant about that. And it's always gone back to that for me, and making sure that I'm integral in it, because there's people that are watching me, and they're oh, Barbie's got that. And that's something that's just it's spooky that I'm I am responsible to hundreds of thousands of people that are watching the videos. And so I'm what I'm showing, make sure I'm safe, make sure it's damn good. That if someone's going to sacrifice a meal for their family or whatever else to buy a product, that I'm promoting something that I really believe in. I've turned a lot of stuff down, y'all. But I've been promoting these people, and I'm I really need to change, and I need to look at my business a little bit differently.
You're a brand And just like any brand that is a business, you have to protect that brand. And you're right, the long term of it is not using gloves that are going to light on fire or you don't feel like you stand by. And so sometimes you have to turn that stuff down. And sometimes you have to. I was actually telling this story the other day. Is like when I first started my business, like it was very underfunded, and so and any opportunity that came, for extra money
Not
was
funny, but
really
it just,
needed.
yeah.
And so this company approached us, and I'm not going to name it because I don't want to get in trouble or whatever. And they wanted to film a naughty video inside of our location. And the money was really needed right then. We could really used it, but I turned it down because it didn't line up with our brand. Our brand was nothing to do with naughty videos, in our place of business, right? And I still am glad that I made that decision. So people need to realize that like your brand is everything. And with personal brands, like it's absolutely imperative because, people do follow you and see what you're doing. I want to actually ask you about that too. I had a friend in a little similar saga to you, where he was actually on the show last week. Nobody knows him. And he's this guy I've trained with for years. And he got frustrated with regular workout equipment. So he started like making his own in his gym. Right. And then he started getting into welding, and he does incredible fabrication work now, and making like equipment that you've never even seen. I would love if you ever get out to Phoenix, I want to introduce you to him and we'll go down there. I'd love to see your minds together for a minute. But he's definitely afraid of, getting out there and like promoting his personal brand, even though he could be so helpful. He's so knowledgeable. What advice do you have for people that are afraid? Because like we talked in the intro, it's like we need more people that are good, talking about good things, not the, keep your eyes open and hate the world stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a tough one because you have, like, it depends on what his purpose is, because his purpose might just be able to do this stuff. So, like, the first thing I do is I see someone that's got a talent, and I'm like, dude, you can make so much money with that. Because my brain is literally wired for business now because I've spent so many years in. Now, I told you I'm not like the whole brand thing. I'm like, I'm really I'm niching that down. I've been running a business, doing okay, but now it's time to get serious. But like, I constantly can look at like everything I look at. I'm like, yeah, that's a business. That's a business. If you did this, and this, like, I'm always on.
Yep.
It's just it is. It's like I look at welds, I look at businesses. It's what I do. But like, seeing that is like, it would depend on what the person's purpose is. If they're out there, like if they like, some people just like to create art for themselves. They don't want to show it off. They don't want to let anyone else know that they're doing it. It's masterful, way better than anything I've ever thought of doing. They're way better than me, but they just need it for themselves. And that's a thing. And like, maybe that is just something, but also like, I didn't set out, like I made art for me. I still make art for me. I didn't understand, like I had no desire to go like, yeah, let me be an influencer. Let me write books and let me teach. Like, no clue. I fell into all of it. Like I fell into all of it. And just like when I first started doing videos and teaching it because they weren't out there, and I go, you know what, I could teach someone else to do this. I'm like, it would be really cool. And I don't even know where I had the BALLS to do that, but I just started it one day. And it was so awkward. So awkward. I love interviewing now. I'm so at peace with this. I'm so like, it's so comfortable. When I first started, I was like very robotic, and like when you won't move your weld, it was just awful because I wasn't comfortable with myself. And and I'd say the camera, it's a phone. I wasn't comfortable. Anything that's uncomfortable, anything that's scary, you just haven't had enough practice yet. If it's something you want to go,
and you have to do it.
Yeah, and it's just like jump in. I look like a freaking moron. I leave all the there's 2015 videos up on YouTube. Go back and look at my old videos, people.
Yeah.
Awkward. But you're still awkward. But now it's fun awkward because I'm just like, this is who I am. I'm fun and awkward. That's my vibe. That's what you get when you get here. Cool art, fun and awkwardness. But it's just, it's taken a long time for me to be comfortable with myself. But that's practice too. It's like when I started walking, I sucked at it. I fell down a lot. I got bumps. I got bruises. But I mean, like I can walk and chew bubble gum now, and I'm pretty proficient. I can even blow bubbles while I'm walking and chewing bubble gum. But it's just taking that practice, and it's getting in the arena. And look at, if you are going to do something new, if you're going to go start a new business, if you're going to go start a new career, whatever, look at someone else before you has started the business, might not be the same business, but they've started a business. They have also felt awkward. They also didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah.
What you do is, what I do is, and like, there's like stuff on sculptures. Like, look, I have no freaking clue what I'm doing on a day to day basis. I just continue to show up with a great attitude and a great work ethic and go, what can I do next to move this forward? Like, moving forward, what can I do next? What's one thing, one tiny little thing? And sometimes I don't know what to do on my sculptures. I had that problem yesterday or the day before. Time doesn't exist. And so I'm like, I know I'll figure it out. I was starting to get frustrated. And like, this happens to me every single sculpture I make is like, I'll get to a point, the armpits on something I can't talk about. I'm like, I'm making armpits. You're welcome. But I couldn't get it. And I was so, I'd already like cut an arm off to do it and then had welded the arm back on. I'm like, how come I can't figure this out? I'm like, I've been welding for 15 years. I've been, full time, which, I'm putting in 10-hour days at least. I like, a ton of time. I'm like, how can you not get it? And so there are sometimes I have to step away from the physical work and I sweep my shop. And like that's how it'll come to me. I know the answer will come to me. It's being in the arena and it's just playing in that arena. And like, I don't work anymore either. I play. I'm not allowed to work. I love what I'm doing. I'm like, why are you taking it so serious, girl? You're just playing. Just play it. No big deal. It's like it'll come to you. Just keep playing around with it. And so like my words and how I'm speaking to myself and like makes a huge difference.
How do you know when you've reached mastery? Was that a hard thing for you to understand?
I don't know.
Did you know when you got there?
When I reach mastery, I don't know what mastery is. Like it's.
Well, how do you know when you're good at something?
Oh man, that's a great question. How do you know? You know what? I know I'm good when I step back and I feel really good about what I'm doing. Like when I look at what I'm doing and I step back, because like F everyone else's opinion. At the end of the day, like it only matters here and here. When I look at what I've done, I step back and I'm like, there's nothing else I would change on that. Like that's how I feel good. And I definitely like moving forward. There's sculptures I have from 2018 that I still own, and I'll look at them and I can go, and they're in my kitchen. And I'm like, I would change this, this, and this. And so I don't ever want to have that feeling again. So in 2018, I wasn't the artist that I am today. Now I did the best I could, like completely best. But the sculpture, which I can't have it on my bench because I can't show it yet, it's on the floor, but the sculpture that I'm working on, I will not finish that, even though time is of the essence. Like I will work like around the clock until there's not one more spot on there that I would change. Like that's how I know I've reached mastery, is like something that I will stand next to and be like, I wouldn't change a thing. And like, that's me today, right? Like, I think we need to look at ourselves as that, like, for what I've been through, I'm like, I'm in pretty good shape for the shape I'm in, right? Like, but also like moving forward, like I wouldn't change a thing about me today. You can't, right? And so being at peace with that, and like moving forward, I don't ever want to stand next to myself and say I want to change. I don't like how I'm treating that person, or I don't like how I'm treating that person. It's a lot easier being nice to other people.
Can I say that, and hopefully you don't mind, I've actually known you for quite a while, through online and, a little bit of discussion here and there. It's like, would it be fair to say that we were very normal people that decided we weren't going to be anymore? And we decided to put everything we had into a passion? Because I want kids to understand out there right now that it's like, I can speak for myself and I'm going to try to speak for you too. It's like, we were normal people, right? And we didn't probably think we could do much in this world. And then you find like that thing that you have a passion for, a mission for, you use that chip on your shoulder, and now you can absolutely have, there's not a single person out there right now, I'm positive of it, that can't be amazing at something. Absolutely positive of something.
So I completely agree with you. And like, nobody's normal, but also we're all the same. We're literally all the same. So like whatever like Elon Musk is doing, like we could all be Elon Musk. If we put in Elon Musk time on whatever it is it's in front of us, we could all be Tyler, we could all be Barbie. Like I'm obsessed. Like what you're looking at, like online, I do feel like the people in the world that stand out are the ones that are, again, like you said, like very normal people. They just are hyper focused on one thing that they're deeply passionate about, and they've put in time to where when you look at what I'm doing, it looks like I'm creating miracles over here. Like I have people that are like,
Yeah.
I've been welding for 30 years and I don't even understand how you do what you're doing. And it's just like I haven't welded, but it's just like I am obsessed with
Yeah.
details. I'm obsessed with the welding. I'm obsessed with, creating mastery. Like it'll probably never happen, but also I'm like, who knows, right? Like there are people that look at my stuff like, oh, it's perfect. And I'll look at it like, oh my God, I have 100 more hours on that and I can fix it.
Yeah.
It's that like the obsession, the time. It just boils down to like it really just does. It's like focus, loving, joyful, peaceful focus on that which brings you joy. Like what do you have? If you're a gamer, like go put in the time on the games. Go like understand you can make a lot of money if you want to. And that's the thing is like some people just do it for the joy. Like for me,
Yeah.
I'm doing it for the joy, but also I get paid back. Like I'm like, you've got to be crapping me. Like really? I'm like, I would do this stuff for free. But I don't have to. But I don't have to. I'm so like I'm living like this wild life because I had like this that people are following me. Like they followed me for like I'm just like dude, I'm just like you said, a very normal person. I'm saying like I make armpit fart noises and like whatever. Just like I'm just normal. And like I'm stunned that when people come up to me that they're like people come up and meet me and they're like, oh my God, Barbie, and this is like the weirdest thing in the world. I'm like, I just like to weld stuff, man. Like I'm like no different than any other welder that's out there that welds. It loves it, right? Like I'm no other like a race car driver. If you're passionate about what you like, you're just if you could
Yeah.
find something that you're passionate about, and this is something else. It's like people are like, oh, I don't have a passion. I don't know what it is. Here's a really cool way to figure it out. Go
I'm
back
ready.
to your childhood and think about what you really liked doing. Right? Like,
Yeah.
what did you enjoy doing as a kid? Did you play with Legos? Did you like to draw? Did you like to read or write? Did you make stuff? Or what were you doing as a kid? Like when you would just get lost, completely lost, and just like time would disappear. Like that's a really great that's a great place to start. And looking
I
for
think
those times in your life when time disappears, because time doesn't exist for me. Like I said, unless I have a deadline.
I think that's amazing advice. And here's the thing. I think so. Hear me here. I think there's two different types of people. I think there's those like you that do what they love and they fall into that do what you love and they never work a day in your life. And that is beautiful. Good for you. I think that's wonderful advice going back to your childhood. I tell the other side of the world, do what you hate, right? If you hate something in this world, do something that's going to change what you hate. And that's where I actually fall in the bucket of, there's things that I can't stand. So I invent businesses and tools to change that. And it could be something as simple as, so I make it dramatic because I think the world should be about a mission, but it could be something as simple as like, I hate the fact that I can't get a good hamburger and good customer service, right? So maybe I should start that business. I mean, I hate the fact that small businesses get picked on. And, I hate the fact that we don't take enough care of underdogs, and a lot of underdogs in the world don't think they can have what they want. And so I've opened a company that basically supports and elicits underdogs to get into business around the educational aspects, right? So I'm doing something I hate, right? You're doing something you love. I mean, the passion's still there. It's still a mission for both of us.
So that's such an interesting way of looking at that. And what a brilliant insight. And I would have never thought of that. It's completely opposite, but it makes so much sense. I'm constant looking out and like, again, it goes back to that could be a business. That could be a business. Like any kind of number of things. I really dig on that.
That's what's tough about business too, because you get into what you know. Like you're fortunate enough, you had your passion, you knew this was your passion and it just happened to turn into a business. I think that is absolutely wonderful. And I think the best businesses and most fulfilling ones happen that way. And then there's the other side of the world. It's like that here's online. It's like, I just should open a business. I'll work my own hours and, I'll make millions of dollars. And then they get into it and they wonder why the failure rate's 70% is because they've been set up for failure. They chose the wrong business first off. They didn't spend any time pre-analyzing it before they started. And then when it got hard and it wasn't everything the internet promised, now they quit, right? So it's impossible to quit when you hate something or love something like we do, right? We can't quit. It's impossible. It's part of us.
Yeah, it makes so much like for me, like I feel like, and I don't know the numbers or anything like that, but I feel like this. I didn't get into business to make money. I got into
Yeah.
business because I was drawn to sculpt. Like I must. I needed to breathe, and like that's all I could like. It doesn't make any sense, but I knew I needed to. I'd never done it before. Didn't even like. But I'm like, I must do this. So it's like I got into it because I was drawn to it, like magnetically drawn to it. If I'd gotten into it for money, I would have failed because the money
Yeah.
wasn't there. But if you go into a business for a passion, whether it's you passionately love it or you passionately hate it, you're there for passion. And when the money doesn't show up at first, and maybe you'd be lucky, and maybe you're one of the bazillion, like, well, 1 million bazillion percentage of people that actually make money in the first 80 years of your business. But I mean, like, if the money isn't there and you go into business to make money and the money's not there, it's like you're going to quit. It's easy to quit because there's no mission or passion behind it. So if you've got mission or passion in front of you, you're drawn to it versus like, I have to force myself to go to work every day. Like, no, I'm like drawn to go to work. And that's a really great indicator if you're in a good business for you is like, are you drawn to? Are you drawn to it? Are you really just like Pepe Le Pew, right? Like, I don't know if you guys remember Pepe Le Pew, the skunk, and he would like follow the scent, like, or Toucan Sam, follow your nose. Like, that's how I feel like completely about my business. I'm completely drawn to sculpt.
I think people get confused on that point too. I think so. Steve Jobs says, "Do something you feel is great work," and that, at the end of the day, is it too. Not everybody loves exactly the business or what they're doing, but they have to feel like it's something that is decent, right? Or at least the tools that the success gives you allows you to do something that's fulfilling, right? It's hard to quit a mission, a passion, right? It's easy to quit a business. So I tell people first, analyze what you want to do with your life goals, and then make sure that business idea fits into there too. Because, and then it could be, well, I'm just going to start this business for 2 years. I'm going to sell it. It's going to lead me to the next one. That's fine. As long as you know what you're doing. But I've spent a lot longer than I should into businesses I shouldn't be in for the wrong reasons. And like, luckily, I refuse to quit because I have all those people chirping behind my ears that I will, and so I'll never quit, So I was lucky enough to have that, even in the businesses that didn't align with me. But now I'm like huge proponent. You have to make it align with who you are and what you want out of life and the missions you have.
Yeah. And that's like, it's creating a business that serves you. Like when I talked about, like, I don't have to go to the gym. Like, I am so physically fit from working in here. When I lay my head down at night, like I put in 9-10 hours of work. I feel dead. That's in the shop. That's before I do my website and all the video editing and stuff, like physical labor in the shop. So like when I go to bed at night, man, I'm so satisfied with the fact that I put in a hard day's worth of work. Like there's such a deep sense of satisfaction. I even sat up taller just thinking about it. I'll be damned.
Yeah.
It changes your physiology. If you're in a job that you hate or like you're working out, it's like, it doesn't matter what you're doing. Just, it's a craftsmanship. Like just if you are focused on like, how can I do, like, I hate my job. This sucks ass. I don't want to be here right now, but also I'm going to be the best XYZ that I can be while I'm here, because that only serves you moving forward. Right. But also like, work on an exit plan, get yourself set up, but look at how, understand what your business is going to entail. I think that like, I never looked at any of this stuff. Like looking back, it's so easy. Like, I have sculpted my business over the years to serve me on a deep level. I am not, I'm not serving my business. I'm serving my clients. Oh, and it just like that right there is just like, that's a huge difference. But my business serves me. Like I love to travel. I took off 8 months to move from New York to Florida because I wanted to do hood rat shit and ride my motorcycle around Daytona, and I wanted to go play and have fun with my friends. And so I built a business that I could do that in. Now, when it caught time to go back to work, I'm like, I can't wait to be back. Because I'm like, what were you even thinking? But I'm just like, I've had the best year of my life. Literally, I'm like, it serves me. Like my books are making money, my videos are making. Like, I've set this up. I know I love to travel. I know I love to be around amazing, creative people. I say yes to podcasts. I say yes to interviews because then I get to leverage your audience, and I get to inspire even more people. Service.
Absolutely.
And so it is. I'm working on now, like moving forward, it's all about service. Like I built a business that serves me, and now I'm going to be able to take that, and it's going to allow me to serve other people on such a infinite level. And that's where I must be.
Well, and that's what people, the other thing about wanting to help the world is you have to have resources to help the world. That's why I love business for people, right? You open a business, now you have resources to change the world. That's why I'm passionate about bringing underdogs into business too, because they bring their hearts for where they came from and the things they were frustrated with. Now we give them some resources through their business that they've earned themselves. Guess what they're doing? They're changing those areas of the world. I think that's how you create collateral systems of impact, So you and I have big hearts for people. I see every single day that you're doing something, like for people out there, and you have some charity stuff that you do. You really you tell people about blue collar and women that can get into the trades. It's like you're doing good work, and you should feel really good about it, right? And you're changing things for people.
Yeah, it is my greatest desire that is. I know, like, with this, like underdogs, I know the best people I've ever met in my life have been people who have been kicked really hard by life.
Yes.
And have overcome it. The ones I know, like I know people that have been to prison, that have gone through the drugs, have gone through like all kinds of stuff, and they are the most wonderful human beings on earth. And to be able to, reach out to someone like, look at, I'm just, like I said, I'm just a normal person. If someone reaches out to me like, hey Barbie, I'm having a tough day, I'm like, dude, I got your back. I'm like, let me find all the people that are having a tough day. Like, it's weird because of like how like social media has like, I've got a big following on social media because of my art. I'm still just like that normal person, and I still have bad days. I still have days that are tough and stuff. And like there are people out there. It's like if I can take this gift that was given, I worked my ass off for it, but it's still a gift because I didn't expect this. This is a happy side effect of obsession, is what it really is. It's this beautiful side effect of my obsession with the art, is that like people like look to me for stuff. And I'm like, man, if I could take a couple of minutes a day and just be like, hey dude, you're my spirit animal, or I'm proud of you, or, like that stuff like that, man. Like
look at what it did for me.
I can only imagine like when Jesse Combs, like I don't know if you know who Jesse Combs is, but I met this woman who I was just completely like enamored with in the automotive industry. She really worked her ass off, and she honored herself. She honored the automotive industry. She honored all women by who she was. And I met her and she knew who I was. I'll tell you what, I fangirled I fangirled on her. Like I was so like just in awe of who she was. And it meant the world to me that she had said kind words to me. There's a few women in there's a lot of women out there. Like Instagram for me has just been like the most incredible place to connect with. And like the trades, the sisters, if you're looking for sisterhood, go into the trades, because man, I will tell you what, it is there in spades. But these women are just like, they're so kind. And so I'm like it makes me think, I'm like, dang, if I, like, she said that to me and it made me feel like so good. I got her picture on the wall. I'm like, how can I do that for someone? Because I've been blessed with this. I didn't ask for it. I had no friggin' clue that this would turn into what it does, man. But to
the impact of simple words.
I think it was Les. Give me a second. I'll get his name. Les Brown. This dude, he says, each one teach one, man. Les Brown is a BAMF. I love him very much. It's been a while since I've heard his video. I used to listen to his videos a lot. But he says, each one teach one. He says, if you get yourself up to a level and you do something for yourself, he says, you turn right around. He says, and you reach your hand down and you help someone else up. And that's lived so, that's so personal for me, right? Because I'm still yes, I'm Barbie the Welder and I'm making bank now. And I'm living like this dream life, but I'm also still, the girl that has gone through all the stuff that she's gone through. And so there's still that, there's still that little girl that lives inside of me. They got, got beat up. They got, and again, I did this to myself. I made all my own choices that led me all the places. And I'm so grateful for it. But always and it's made me who I am. And I'm grateful for it because it's made me who I am. I wouldn't change it. And that's why. Is that I'm in love with myself today, but also, every now and then, the little girl that has self-doubt in me, in here, it creeps in sometimes. I'm like, oh, you're screwing up that sculpture. Don't do this. And don't, and so just there's a whole bunch of me's out there, and I just want to help as many me's as I can because, like, we're all in this together, right? Like,
Yeah.
the human
Oh, I believe
condition,
that. I believe that wholeheartedly. Yeah. A
I'm
couple
no
of people could
different
change the
than
world.
the Kardashians and like all these people. We're all the same person. Like, we're all out there doing everything we can to, like, make it through the human condition. I've been
But what
blessed with this platform. If I can use it for good, man, then please help me use it for good.
that's what I see. And I'm not saying there's not good people from every level coming out, but I see an especially amount of high percentage in underdogs that come out and change the world. How, in your opinion, do we make more underdogs into success?
Wait, make more underdogs?
No, how do we help more underdogs get into success?
I got you. I was like, how do we make more underdogs so they can overcome being an underdog? I'm like, that's actually a good thing. Like, maybe we should make more underdogs.
Yeah.
Look at how good they do turn out. And listen, like, the underdogs are the lucky ones, man. Because I'll tell you what, I do believe this very strongly. I have seen people grow up in the same house with the same parents, with the same set of circumstances, turn out completely different. This is all through history, right? Like, all through history, this happens. And so you'll have a house that has one person's an underdog and the other person's been given everything, weirdly. And I'll tell you what, man, I like being that underdog. So I damn well like being that underdog because I've seen that, and I've seen that the underdogs are the one that end up coming out on top. Eventually, I've seen it a whole bunch, man. And, like, it's weird. And it's because we're forced to handle our own shit. Is what it is. Like, we're forced to into the position of, you have to walk on your own. No one's going to hold your hand. If someone is holding your hand your whole life, if you continue to be given things and life is easy for you and you don't have hardships, man, you're going to be used to have, someone's just walking me like this, life's so easy. Because if anything ever does come up, man, you're screwed. You will never know how to handle that hardship. Our underdogs that have been there and done that, when the going gets tough, they're just like, I've been there, done that, man. This ain't no hill for a climber. And so being an underdog, I think, is the greatest asset that you can have. Like, give me the underdogs. I'd much rather put someone that's been through hardship beside me in the trenches, because when the going gets tough, you know what I'm saying? Who's the one that's got the wherewithal? And I want someone that's got wherewithal.
So well said. And here's the thing I keep telling, like, the younger generation too, especially the business people that come to me and say, where can I get funding and where can I get this loan and this and that?
Go make it. Go figure it out, man. Don't ask for shit. Go work for it.
You'll be glad for it when you make it, right? Because it's like Garth Brooks was actually talking to JFK Jr. and he's like, what should I warn my daughters about, right? As growing up as Garth Brooks kids. And JFK Jr. says, let them know right away, no matter what they do in life, nobody will ever think they earned it. And I don't want that out of my life. Like, I don't want anybody. I mean, Jeff Bezos, you can ask him. He's the richest man in the world. If you were to ask him today if he would take that loan from his parents, so every single person on the planet says, well, Jeff made it because he got all these loans, at the beginning, Jeff would probably start with nothing again. So if you're out there right now and you think that you can't start something because you're not getting a loan, you don't have a rich uncle or whatever, I guarantee once you make it, you'll be glad you didn't.
Yeah, figure it out for yourself, man. Go figure it out for yourself. Stop relying on other people for your happiness, for your financial security, for your anything. Figure it out yourself, because there's such a sense of pride. I did that, man. That was me. That right there is the best feeling on earth. That's the FU fuel right there. Is, I did it against all odds. It's even better when it's against all odds, man, because everyone loves an underdog story. You know what I mean? Like,
that's what money is, right?
I fell into that.
We buy things that we think are going to make us feel something, right? We'll buy a fancy sports car because we think we're going to look cool and people are going to look at us awesome. Like, it's a feeling you can't buy when you make it yourself. A feeling is more valuable than anything because we try to pay for feelings all the time, but I don't know if that lands like we need it to, but I think that's part of the key to knowing. I mean, average business is started with $6,000. If you can't get out there And I tell people, work a job you hate. Work a job you absolutely hate and be the best at it. Because guess what? That hate for that job will keep you motivated. When I started my first business, I used to keep a picture of a bartender below my desk. And I'd be like, you want to go back to that? You're having a good day? You want to go back to getting called to help and say, clean up this mess and, treated like a servant? No, I'll stay here, stick it out. Day wasn't that bad.
Yeah, stay motivated. Like that, having that physical. I'm a visual person, which I think everyone is. Oh, well, not everyone, but like I'm a visual person. So having that picture or having a very clear and definite, like, what am I aiming for or what do I not want to go back to? Having that's probably really powerful. In my shop, normally I've got a picture of the tent that I was set up in selling art when I first started. It's got four, including the top, three different colors on it. I have tarps around the side. It was ghetto as all ghetto, and I keep that in mind because like as I'm welding for just like the amount of money that I'm working for now, it's just unreal, and the companies that are reaching out to me, and I'm just like, but I keep that there because it's like work hard, but also remember where you come from, man. Like remember that there's other people out there doing that too. And like taking my time and like if I can talk to someone, if there's one person out there that's going to hear this and say, you know what, Barbie said, follow your passion and don't give up, man. And it's going to feel good eventually. And if I can have please, it gives me goosebumps. I'm like, just keep that, like what's got me here, like here, like my heart, like will get me like to wherever, but like just, I wear my heart on my sleeve. It makes this is probably one of my best assets. Not that you asked, but like that right there, I'm like just that feel good thing, and like knowing that maybe I can, just getting online for me has been less and less about like, can I get more views, and it's more and more about like how can I go in and serve other people. Like let me go support other people and see what they're doing and following, just going and supporting other people because man, like having that support. I cannot even begin to tell you how much that means to me to have you, for years to connect with me and watch what I'm doing and, to just, that's huge. How can I do that for other people?
I have to tell you this because I think you'll appreciate it. Right. And so my whole life, my parents, I love my parents, but they're not like amazingly supportive, like they're not the type of people. And I think it's because of, their system. It's like, we just hope. I think our family creed, if you look back 400 years ago, is hope for better days. And that kind of explains my parents, and so all these people in my life never totally supported me in the things that I was doing. Right. And I got so used to just doing it on my own, proving them wrong, things like that. And then I went and I got asked to go give a lecture to a group of underprivileged first generation college kids from rough backgrounds and stuff. And this kid stands up at the end of the speech, which I was deathly afraid. It was one of the first things I ever did in public. And he goes, Tyler, I'm going to watch you because I can't wait to see what you do next. And I got goosebumps right now just thinking about it. I think of that kid a couple times a week. I'm like, man, I better get something going. I better do more today. Like that kid's watching me and he's counting on me. He's cheering in my corner right now. And I better not let him down. Right. And so that's such a weird feeling transition from I'm going to prove him wrong to I can't let people down. Right.
Yeah. I've been given a platform on like several channels. I've been given a platform. And again, I didn't expect it, but I'm like, how can I use my powers for good? Because I've been given this. And it's like, what can I do to serve? How can I give back? What should I be showing? What shouldn't I be showing? And that's a thing too. My social media, like that's a business. It's, and it's just like, so like, how can I use this so that I can serve the most people? Or what moves can I make that will serve the most people? It has turned from FU into gratitude. And that's what the book is about, that where it's just like that, like FU, I'll show you. You get to a certain point in your journey where it really does. It turns into gratitude. You'll have these successes, like a small success, that's not too bad. Like, no kidding. It could be something as simple as like finishing a project, but like just, it ends up rolling into that gratitude. Yeah, that
It's
that responsibility to others, I definitely think keeping that is, yeah, responsibility to self first. Because at the end of the day, like I'm the only one looking me in the mirror. And if I didn't put in
yeah.
a full day's worth of work, if I was over here futzing around and, playing on Instagram when I should be sculpting, which happens. I love you, Instagram.
I mean, we
Like
can't help
it's
anybody else before we help ourselves, right? We have to have successes to make big impacts.
yeah.
This has been like I've wanted to have this conversation with you for a couple of years, and like now we're like I don't want to take your whole day because I know you got stuff to do, but you're amazing. Like I love your mindsets. We're in so many ways similar, and so many ways different too. And I think it's like it's so important to hit it from both sides because there's people out there that'll get what I'm saying. There's people out there that'll get what you saying. We're not what you're saying, And then in the middle, we meet quite often, And so like you're an absolute thrill to watch what you're doing. I can't wait to see what you keep doing. I'm glad to have you in my network of amazing people. You give me hope for the future. And, like I think you're a tremendous underdog, game changer, and bootstrapper, and I really want to thank you for, taking the time to come chat with me today. You can find Barbie the Welder everywhere too. I won't even bother. Your social media links are going to be posted on my website. I highly suggest you follow her, even if you're not into the trades and welding and art, which I don't know anybody that's not, but like just your daily outlook on life, I think is important to watch.
That means the absolute world to me. I'm so grateful for your support for a long time. I'm mind blown by that, but I'm super stoked to see what you're going to do next. I am definitely watching closely. So
I I super appreciate it. I want to thank you all for tuning in once again. Underdogs, game changers, and bootstrappers. And please keep going. And if we can ever do anything or talk about anything that's going to help you with your underdog journey, please feel free to reach out. Thanks again.